She was young, bright, full of promise. A 23-year-old University of Utah student chasing dreams, FaceTiming her family, submitting assignments, planning her future. And then, without warning, she was gone. When Mackenzie Lueck stepped off that plane in the early hours of June 17, 2019, no one could have imagined the darkness that awaited her just a few miles away. Secret rendezvous. Hidden backyard. A man with a past no one saw coming. Days later, her charred remains would tell the story her voice no longer could, and what investigators uncovered next would haunt even the most seasoned detectives. In this gripping episode, we unearth the disturbing layers of the Mackenzie Lueck case, from digital breadcrumbs and buried bones to a killer with a terrifying double life. This is not just the story of a murder. This is the unraveling of evil, hidden in plain sight. Watch till the end to understand how technology, determination, and a few unexpected clues led to one of the most disturbing arrests in recent Utah history. June 16, 2019, was a quiet Sunday. The Salt Lake City airport bustled with the usual traffic. Businessmen on red-eye flights, tired parents tugging sleepy toddlers, and college students returning from weekend getaways. Among them, unnoticed by most, was Mackenzie Lueck. She'd just flown in from California, where she'd attended her grandmother's funeral. Grief weighed on her, but there was also a sense of resolve. Mackenzie had always been emotionally grounded, strong but soft-spoken. She was the kind of person who FaceTimed her family every day. Her friends called her Kens. She was warm, smart, studious, a senior in kinesiology, on track to graduate, with plans of becoming a health professional. But none of that would matter in the hours that followed. Around 1 a.m., Mackenzie landed at Salt Lake City International Airport. What she didn't do was head home. Instead, she texted her mother, "Landed safely." The kind of brief, routine message no one would think twice about. She then hailed a Lyft. The driver picked her up. He later told police she requested to be dropped off at Hatch Park in North Salt Lake, a strange request for that time of night. It wasn't close to her apartment. It wasn't near any friend's house. But Mackenzie insisted. She didn't seem scared, just quiet. Surveillance footage would later confirm what the driver said. Mackenzie arrived at the park just before 3 a.m. She got out of the car, and then she was gone. No security footage showed where she went next. There was no goodbye text, no panic message. She simply vanished into the dark. When Mackenzie missed a midterm exam the next morning, her professor thought she might be late. When she missed a second appointment later that day, her friends started texting. No response. By the evening of June 17, 24 hours after her arrival, her phone had gone completely dark. No calls, no messages, no activity on social media. Her friends, growing more frantic, contacted her parents. Her parents immediately knew something was wrong. Mackenzie wasn't the type to vanish. She was glued to her phone. She never missed classes or ignored messages from her family. They filed a missing person report. That night, an officer knocked on her apartment door. Her car was parked outside. Inside her bedroom, her bed was neatly made. Her keys, purse, luggage, all still there. Her cat hadn't been fed. For the detectives, something wasn't just off, it was alarming. They launched a full investigation, but without Mackenzie's phone, and with no witnesses, there were almost no leads. It was as if she had walked off the face of the earth. But detectives had one clue left. The lift drop-off surveillance at Hatch Park revealed nothing beyond the lift drop-off. No cameras faced the interior, but there were faint tire marks. And witnesses later recalled seeing a dark-colored car around that time, a black SUV parked near the entrance with its lights off. Investigators obtained Mackenzie's phone records and dug through her digital trail. That's when things started to take shape. In the days before her disappearance, Mackenzie had been texting someone. Man. The name on her phone was just an alias. AJ. But police found that AJ had an IP address, and it led back to a 31-year-old man named Ayula Ajayi. He lived less than 5 miles from Hatch Park. He had no direct connection to Mackenzie, At least not publicly. But digging deeper, detectives discovered the two had met on a dating app. Texts recovered from Mackenzie's phone showed they had arranged to meet the night she returned. She had even texted him shortly before arriving at the park. "I'm here." Ayoola Ajayi, a Nigerian-born former IT worker and Army veteran, owned a two-story house in a quiet Salt Lake City neighborhood. From the outside he appeared normal, clean-cut, soft-spoken. He even once wrote a manuscript about murder, describing how to burn a body without leaving a trace. At first he cooperated with police. He said he hadn't seen Mackenzie in weeks. He claimed he didn't know she was even missing. But detectives were already suspicious. The breakthrough came thanks to an anonymous tip. A neighbor of Ajayi's reported seeing black smoke rising from his backyard in the early morning hours of June 17, just hours after Mackenzie was dropped off at the park. Police immediately obtained a search warrant. What they found in Ajayi's backyard would forever change the course of the investigation. But that wasn't all. Inside Ajayi's house, cadaver dogs reacted violently in multiple areas, especially in the basement. There, investigators found a burned mattress and signs of a violent struggle. Blood had soaked through the carpet, pooled beneath the floorboards, and clung to the walls behind newly installed drywall. It was clear. Mackenzie had never left that house alive. The digital trail was Mackenzie's voice now. With no phone calls and almost no eyewitnesses, the data from her phone and social media was the only thread that police could follow through the darkness. That's when they found something. An odd data ping just after 3 a.m. on June 17, hours after Mackenzie's Lyft ride had ended. It was a cell phone signal. Brief. Flickering. It came from a quiet suburban area in North Salt Lake. A neighborhood of cul-de-sacs, manicured lawns, and nestled behind tall trees, one particular house that stood out, not because it was grand, but because of what was inside. Ayoola Ajayi. That name meant nothing at the time. But it would soon consume every headline. Ajayi, a former Army IT specialist and aspiring model, had once been a student at Utah State University. He lived in that North Salt Lake home alone. When police visited him for questioning, he answered smoothly, confidently. He claimed he didn't know Mackenzie Lueck, said he hadn't seen or communicated with her in months. But Ajayi was lying. And technology was about to prove it. Cell tower data revealed that Mackenzie's and Ajayi's phones had both been at Hatch Park at the exact same time, right around 3 a.m. on June 17. In fact, they moved in tandem from the park to Ajayi's house. That digital footprint was impossible to ignore. The police returned to Ajayi's residence, not to talk but to search. In the backyard, hidden beneath fresh layers of topsoil and burned brush, they discovered a charred area of disturbed ground. The smell of gasoline clung to the soil. With forensics teams sifting through the ashes, investigators uncovered several blackened pieces of female human tissue and muscle. The remains were so damaged by fire that full identification was impossible, but DNA would speak louder than any flame. A strand of hair found in Ajayi's home matched Mackenzie Lueck. So did the tissue. The reality was gut-wrenching. Mackenzie hadn't just disappeared. She had been lured. And then she had been burned. But why? Investigators dove deeper into Ajayi's past. What they uncovered painted a portrait of a man not just disturbed, but deeply predatory. His Google searches on June 17 were chilling. Burned body smell. How to destroy DNA evidence. Does bleach remove bloodstains? There were more. Too many to ignore. He had also purchased a gas can and 5 gallons of gasoline just before Mackenzie vanished. In his garage, police found a freshly cleaned area and a heavy-duty tarp that still held traces of blood. Her blood. Ajayi had gone to extreme lengths to plan this crime. Every act, from the park meeting to the fire in his yard, was coldly calculated. But his motive was still elusive. It was Mackenzie's secret life that began to reveal a disturbing connection. Though she was a bright, loving, and responsible student, Mackenzie had also been using a sugar dating app. Screenshots confirmed she had met Ajayi through it. The two had been speaking for several days before her disappearance. She had trusted him enough to meet in the middle of the night. What happened after that meeting would remain known only to her and her killer. But the prosecution painted a brutal picture. Ajayi allegedly tied Mackenzie up, assaulted her, and strangled her to death. Then, in an effort to cover up his crime, he burned her body in his backyard. When police started to close in, he attempted to conceal what remained, but it was too late. Every lie he told, every search he made, and every move he took had been recorded by the digital world he thought he could outsmart. The public outcry was overwhelming. Students at the University of Utah lit candles in Mackenzie's honor. Her family flew in from California, broken and silent, only able to stand by as evidence mounted. Ajayi was arrested on June 28, just 11 days after Mackenzie was last seen. During interrogations, Ajayi refused to talk. Cold, distant, calculated. But the mountain of evidence against him, GPS data, DNA, search history, and physical remains, left little room for defense. In 2020, Ajayi pleaded guilty to the aggravated murder and desecration of Mackenzie Lueck's body. He also admitted to kidnapping her. In court, as part of his plea deal, he gave a chilling statement. "I murdered her intentionally and tried to cover it up." There were no tears, no regret, just facts, cold and brutal. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Mackenzie's family was shattered, but even in their grief they spoke with grace. Her father, Jeff Lueck, described her as a loving, intelligent, and vibrant woman with a passion for helping others. Her friends remembered her infectious laugh, her loyalty, her sense of adventure. She had dreamed of becoming a medical professional. Thank you for watching this episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There are more stories out there, more voices to be heard, and more truths to uncover. We appreciate every one of you who walks this investigative journey with us. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and keep watching.